It must be stated that Super Mario 64 is the greatest Mario game to date, and one which all games. Mario's first foray into the world of Super Mario 64. Nintendo said it's looking as one of the greatest standards and artifacts. Shit. I'm Hoobly Snoobly, and this is Super Mario 64, a playthrough 26 years in the making. Super Mario 64 has long existed as sort of an enigma for me. I grew up one console generation after the N64. I hadn't even heard about the game until I was a young teenager, first hearing about the mythical Super Mario 64 through YouTube. I can't really overstate just how much this game has been hyped up to me throughout my life. Discussions of other games within its genre always seem to come down to how inferior those other games are. Fans claim it literally defined how video games play in the third dimension. They claim it gave life to childhoods and even adulthoods, and people literally still consider it the greatest game of all time. Yeah, I don't remember which one of these two games I'm talking about anymore. Now don't get me wrong, despite how it may seem, I'm not dunking on Super Mario 64 at all. I've never even touched the game. I just want to paint a picture of the enormous expectations that have been set for me throughout my life. I mean, look at this. I've never played the goddamn game and I own it twice. It is that ubiquitous. So I think it's time. Time for me to take the dive. I have to admit, I'm a bit anxious about this. I mean, meeting the expectations that have been set for me is just impossible, right? Well, I think it's time to face my fears. Ugh! Okay, maybe not all of my fears just yet. From the beginning, Super Mario 64 has a way of drawing you in. The movement is fluid, the music enticing, and if you spend a little time looking, most areas reward exploration with secrets. In the starting area, these trees have one-up mushrooms in them. Cool Mountain Slide has a secret exit. There's a secret star on this wall that I didn't know about until I had already beaten the game. In general, it's safe to assume that for most people, when you start playing Super Mario 64, you'll be drawn into it for a bit. Quality in this game is much more often the rule and not the exception. For a good example, after I finished Bob-omb Battlefield, I wanted to move on to the next level. Me not knowing the order of the levels in this game, I just picked the first 3-star door I saw, and it was the underwater level. I thought I'd skip it for now. In my opinion, in all platformers, there are always two bad levels, the underwater level and the ice level. So I went for the other 3-star door. And it was the fucking ice level. But here's what surprised me about these levels. They're both good. Really good, actually. Cool Mountain might be my favorite level in the entire game, and Jolly Roger Bay was a ton of fun. This is what I mean by quality being the rule. It's safe to assume that any level you're going to play will be good, and even the average levels in this game are better than other games' best. Except for some. You can genuinely feel the degree that a kid would come to love this game. Even as an adult, I found that I was thinking about it while I wasn't even playing it, something that really only happens in a select few games I find myself enjoying a lot. What can I say though? Mario in my heart, Mario in my mind. Whoa. Hold on, I'll be right back. As I alluded to earlier, the game isn't all good. There does come some bad with the territory too. The best approach will be to go level by level in the order that I played them and see what I felt was done well and what was not so great. First up, as an introductory level, it's hard to get much better than this. Bob-omb Battlefield shows off a lot of what you'll encounter throughout the game. From not so well hidden secrets that encourage exploration like the teleporter in this cavern, to the uphill climb that challenges you to find a way up it for a fast way to the summit, which, by the way, you can just walk up this. In all, this is a good level, and it accomplishes exactly what it sets out to do. This hook is immediate. This level is decent. It feels like another introduction level, but I don't feel like it's quite as good as Bob-omb Battlefield. This is kind of exacerbated by the fact that the boss fights in both the levels are really similar. While it isn't a bad level, it does have a few blemishes that I feel like make it worse. First off, it's your first real introduction to slopes. Fuck! These are probably my least favorite mechanic in the entire game. They're in tons of levels, and Whomp's Fortress is far from the worst offender, but still. The star you get to through this cannon is also kinda not great, in my opinion. I could see a kid just guessing over and over as to where to aim, losing lives and getting really frustrated. As well as the hidden star in this wall here, I know I alluded to it being a charming secret earlier, and while I do see it as that way, it is also fairly arbitrary. You'll notice how much later in the game I got it, because I only learned about it through a strategy guide. On the bright side, I think the red coin hunt in this level is very good. The stage contains arguably my favorite song in the whole soundtrack too, with the Piranha Plant Lullaby. I think it's unfair to call this a bad level, but I also don't think it convinces me it's a good one either. The good and the bad both seem to be minor footnotes here that cancel each other out, making this an unfortunately average level. This level is fantastic. As I brought up a bit ago, I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it. For what feels like one of the first times ever in a platformer, the ice is not the focal point of the ice level. You don't find yourself sliding around on every surface, making platforming annoying as hell. Coco Mountain also has a great mixture of unique challenges to each star. It was the first level I got every star in, and I did it immediately. And of course, the baby penguin does go in the Applebee's deep fryer.
There's no good in the filth that I put down, that's what I think.
I think that this world, it needs men that are willing to make the hard call. That's what I think. I think you and me are the same. We're the same. You know it. Only I do the one thing that you can't. You hit them and they get back up. I hit them and they stay down. It's permanent. I make sure that they don't make it out on the street again. I take pride in that.
Good level, good stars, good music. This is for Rachel, you big fat, white, nasty, smelling fat bitch. Well, you took me off the motherfucking schedule with your trifling, dirty, white, racist ass, big fat bitch and Maluma body ass bitch. Oh my god, that voicemail is so fucking funny. Once again, the quality of this level surprised me. It's no secret that underwater anything in video games usually sucks. Even Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, a game which I love, had pretty tedious underwater gameplay. So imagine how surprised I was to see that Super Mario 64 from 1996 did it better. Now don't get me wrong, it's aged like unpasteurized milk, but for having one single joystick, they make it work better than I thought. This level is short, one of the shortest in the game, so it really doesn't have time to overstay its welcome and drag with the underwater mechanics, which helps it. My surprise by this level's quality was matched only by my surprise when I hit this button and a timer started. But don't worry, I got it on my first try, baby. Woo! Will
you cut that out?
This is the level I've had the most difficult time putting my thoughts into words with. While I think the majority of the content in this level is really good, I spent the majority of my playtime stuck on two horrid parts. Trying to land on the final of the 4 pillars of the wing cap is painfully difficult, and trying to walk along the pathways on the sides of the pyramid is like sending a group of world-class assassins after Trumpet Guy. Like, it's a losing matchup.
You miserable, mediocre nothing!
I think both of these are due to fighting the camera. It just isn't really suited for these sections of precision. With the pillar, you're fighting the camera constantly to just look down so you can know when you need to ground pound. Look at how disorienting it can be to try to get the right position above the pillar. Then, on the pyramid, it is somehow always looking the wrong way. When you round a corner, it makes it nigh impossible to jump where you want to because the camera will instantly jerk. When watching these clips, it may look like I'm fucking up a simple jump, but the camera jerks the moment you round the corner, making what should be a simple 90-degree analog change put you way too far over. Aside from these two blemishes, I think this is a good level, potentially even one of the best. Unfortunately, as we can see, Karen messed with the wrong Royal Guard. Big mistake. I hate this level. Okay, fine. I don't fully hate it, I was just never really engaged. Most of this level is spent wandering around, completely lost, hence the maze part. There isn't much platforming, and most of the tasks aren't fun or exceptionally engaging either. I personally believe that if the metal cap switch weren't in this level, I would never come in here. I just never felt hooked, and the level does away with most of the platforming that I was enjoying up till this point, but who am I to judge? Oh yeah, I'm the one making the video. Haha, 0 stars, 1 star, 4 star, it's fantastic. I enjoyed this level quite a bit. Most of that comes down to a really good decision. The lava in this level does not instantly kill you. In fact, its propulsion allows for some creative skips and jumps. You aren't on the edge of your seat, constantly worrying that one single misstep will kill you, making you go back to the beginning of the level. At the same time, the lava does do enough damage to prevent you from touching it voluntarily too often, and it does take away control for a few seconds. I think making this decision makes this level much more enjoyable than it would have been otherwise. I enjoyed the bully fights, the Bowser sliding puzzle was a creative addition, as was the log rolling section. There are a lot of fun and creative challenges to do in here, and in all, it's another really great level, and surprisingly, it actually served as the inspiration for Dante Alighieri's Inferno and the Divine Comedy. With Purgatory and Paradise, well, they were based on some cool shit he saw in Rugrats.
I don't know, Tommy. I don't think you should tell her. Yeah, she'll eat them all if she finds out they're under your grandpa's bed. That's what I thought. No, Angelica, no! Yes!
This is yet another good level. Each room has something new, and the challenges here are all fairly distinct from each other. The boos can be a bit annoying, but they were designed to be that way, so I guess it's a win and they do their job well. Also, this is the scary level, and there's ghosts and pianos and a music room? What the fuck is... Oh man, I got angry at this level. Just like Shifting Sandland, most of this level is really good, but the dumbass star on top of the dumbass snowman's dumbass head was so infuriating to get. Firstly, this float part should be easy to overcome, just triple jump with good timing, but guess what you have to fight? Yeah, the camera gets utterly mind-fucked on this section. It will give you crazy fucking shots to try to jump it on. If you mistime a jump or barely nick one of these slopes, fuck you, ASMR goofy car crash death. Then, when you clear that, climb up the snowman and do the stupid obstacle where you have to stay beside the penguin while the big snowman blows. In order to do this challenge, you need to be precise and strategic and think ahead of time. You have to memorize the walk pattern, which means you either stay back, watch it, and memorize it, or you be a fucking moron and try to play it by reactions. Guess which one I did. These parts aren't actually hard, don't get me wrong, but goddamn dude, it's a kid's game and I thought I could just steamroll it and I didn't really try and I was a little bit drunk. The other stars in this level are pretty good though. Once again, I really enjoyed Wet Dry World. I thought its main gimmick was super creative, and it was fun to explore while the water was at different levels. I also really enjoyed exploring the flooded city. I unfortunately don't have much footage. For some reason, most of it corrupted, and it looks like this. Must have been my setup. Does it have a negative aura? I mean, it is the only footage that corrupted. Does that also confirm that every copy is personalized? Yeah, probably. Every Goomba in my game had a huge fat ass that clapped whenever they walked. Fuck yes, this level is cream of the crop. It was easily my favorite in the game. Exploring as different sizes is a super creative idea, and even without going for stars, just exploring the level as the different sizes is fun in itself. I loved almost every single thing about this level. The Coop with a quick race, followed by the fact that you can just straight up fucking kill him, the Wiggler section, all of it was good. Except for the fact that they brought back one single Shifting Sandland pyramid walkway, but whatever, it's not enough to detract. I could talk about everything this level did well for hours, but I'll digress instead. There's also a black hole where little men kept telling me to hurt people. Must have been my setup. The worst thing that could have happened to this level is the fact that I played it directly after Tiny Huge Island. Coming from that level, this one is really underwhelming. It's just about as straightforward as a level can get. It's not bad, but this late in the game it feels like they pulled out all the stops, and each level seems to have a unique setting or gimmick that makes it stand out. Tall Tale Mountain misses that mark in my book. it couldn't entice me to play it more than a little bit. Also, not that this has anything to do with me not playing it much, but the sexy little monkey cheated in my game and jumped into the water, and then I got a letter from the IRS the next day. Also another miss in my book. There's exactly one way to do most of this level, and that is to ride this painfully slow carpet the whole fucking way. To make sure you don't express any creativity, the carpet will also despawn if you aren't on it for a few seconds. I loved getting the red coins in the stone 3D maze, and I thought it was a great showcase of a jumping puzzle where you have to use all the tools at your disposal. Otherwise, sit on the carpet for almost the whole level. This level is great. The variation of everything inside the clock's speed being based on when you jump into it is really interesting, even if it isn't super well communicated to you. Or communicated at all in my case, because man, was I confused when nothing was moving. I actually looked up if this was a glitch, which is how I found out about the gimmick in the first place. God, I love never having to pursue curiosity more than a Google search. This level feels like a 3D platformer with all the fat trimmed off. It's a good test of what you've learned up till this point. And to give credit where it's due, they seem to have figured out the camera for this level, because it would be one of the worst if they hadn't. Okay, so maybe the camera isn't going to fully cooperate, but it is much better than some other levels. In Super Mario 64, basic functionality of the camera is the goal, not actual full control. I enjoyed the level nonetheless, and it was the final regular level I did in my playthrough. Or so you thought. Aha, do you see what I did there? I lied to your face. When reviewing my footage, I thought to myself, wait, wasn't there a level with a submarine on it? I didn't see it anywhere. I scrolled through all of my footage and found this. 2 whole minutes of gameplay. I think I misunderstood this as just a middle level to get to the next Bowser area, and I just straight up skipped it. So I went back and actually played the level months after I first recorded the footage. I don't have much to say about it, which isn't unexpected when you consider that I didn't even know it was a full level and I played some of it. It's relatively inoffensive, but with not much new to add, the YouTuber says as his wife leaves him in the background. I just feel that the level didn't really move the needle.
Why?
Where was I? These are more quick 3D platforming challenges than they are full levels, so there isn't too much to say about them. I enjoyed them all for the most part, though they were a harsh reminder of how bad I am at the game, and yes, that is the game's fault. I have detracted points accordingly. So that's it then. I played through Super Mario 64 after all these years. In total, my thoughts were that the game was very charming, but that in some aspects, it is definitely a product of its time. In those aspects, it hasn't aged like a fine wine, more like an upside-down Natty Light. I essentially set out on this playthrough with a couple things in mind. Firstly, this is an old game, and judging it with the lens of hindsight would be unfair. Secondly, I am a fully grown-ass man. This is not a game made for me. How do I feel this game would have impacted my life had I run into it as a child? These two questions help me to realize the point of this video, and something that I feel ought to be covered in all retro game reviews. I swear this will make sense in a bit, so stick with me here. When reviewing an older video game, there are 2 judging criteria with which they are usually seen, and those are, 1. How does this game play today? In the context of all video games, where does this one rank? Or, 2. How does this game sit relative to when it was released? What impact did it have on other video games of its time? Both of these are important questions to ask. With the first, it's fair to want to know whether you should recommend this game to people today. Do you think this game has warranted a recommendation to someone that hasn't played it yet, in spite of its age? With the second, it could be argued that the measure of a good game is its impact and not how well it ages. I ramble about this for this reason. Every reviewer holds these criteria in some kind of balance, whether they recognize it or not. Depending on that balance, somebody may say that Adventure for the Atari 2600 is a shit game that you shouldn't waste your time playing when there are objectively more impressive games out there that are more worth your attention. Another reviewer might say that it's important to see where games that were inspired by adventure got their roots. These two opinions share a different balance of the criteria I mentioned above and are the logical extremes of both. While playing Super Mario 64, I couldn't decide on my personal balance. I kept flipping back and forth on what I thought was more important. Do I need to enjoy the gameplay experience in the context of all video games that I've played to tell you this is a good game? Or do I need to put myself in a vacuum and pretend it's 1996 to judge the game fairly? I felt that I needed to find this balance in order to give you a concise idea of what I thought about this game, and to give it a ranking. I couldn't do that. In the end, I'm going to present my opinion of this game without a mix of the criteria. I'll answer both questions on their own. Firstly, let's rip this band-aid off and answer only the first criteria. I don't know that I would recommend Super Mario 64 to people who are interested in trying 3D platformers today. I personally feel that there are just better gameplay experiences out there that took inspiration from it. Newer 3D Mario games are a better experience, as are a plethora of other 3D platformers. I even had a better time with Banjo-Kazooie on the same system. I don't think that it's a bad game, even in this context, but I don't feel that it's near the top of the list of games I would recommend in the genre. I just don't think it's a pilgrimage all should take like it may have been in the past. That being said, if you're interested in the game and you feel like you may like it, I am definitely not discouraging you from checking it out. It's a charming game with great music and some fun puzzles. Essentially, I feel that the industry has moved well past Super Mario 64, and I don't feel like it offers anything revolutionary over other games. If you haven't played this game before, it won't be a retroactively life-changing experience, just an enjoyable old video game. As for the second criteria, and in a much shorter opinion, this game was exceptionally creative, and it gave joy to many. There's a reason so many games take aspects from this one, even to this day. Precedents set by Super Mario 64 became industry standards. There's a reason that fans of the Super Mario franchise have such high hopes when a new 3D Mario game is announced. Most hope it can be to that console generation what Super Mario 64 was to its own. I don't know. If you want a more in-depth opinion on it in this criteria, you can look up any of the dozens of reviews which call it the best game of all time. Most people who judge this game do so with this criteria exclusively. I'm done throwing a fucking pretentious dictionary at you now. If you feel like you don't fully understand my stance on the game, yeah. By the time I was done playing, I didn't fully either. I was flipping back and forth and something didn't really feel right about it all. Like I said earlier, a few years back, I played Banjo-Kazooie for the first time, and I absolutely loved it. It was so charming, so creative, so fun. I would just sit down and play for hours. I even did it to 100% completion my first time. So why didn't that happen here? Super Mario 64 is considered by many to be more charming. I was clearly missing something, and my opinion of the game was suffering because of it. That's when I realized it. Remember how I owned the game twice? I was playing the 3D All-Stars version. I was using a Switch Pro controller on an HD TV. Of course it didn't feel right, it was so far from its native element. So I found a tube TV, hooked up my N64, and my copy of the game. Unfortunately, I think my game was glitched because the English on it was all messed up. Must have been my setup. From the moment I booted the game, it was different. The audio and the video fuzz, the controller fitting the gameplay perfectly, the oversaturated colors. This was literally how the game was made to be played. I was sucked in! I was sucked in! I played for a few hours. And then I took a look back. the fuck was I doing here? I was playing a 26-year-old game made for kids, looking at it with the most critical eye possible, looking at it like a gamer. No, the game isn't the genre monolith it used to be. No, it won't shake you to your core and make you reevaluate your existence. Yes, you will get Horde and pop a boner. It's a 3D platformer that inspired countless ones to follow. It's a good video game. It's enjoyable. Temper your expectations to that and you may find that you love the game. If this game found you at the right time in your life and it was your everything, I'm happy for you. Media has a way of changing us forever depending on when it finds us. This game made so many people happy, both as kids and adults. It's a source of comfort for some, a game that they can come back to and relive something. Ultimately, that's all a game needs to be. A source of happiness for at least one person. Thank you guys so much for watching my psychotic adjacent ramblings about a video game. If you found me for the first time, welcome. If you hear from my past videos, wow. Why? I took a long break from content creation. I never felt motivated, and quite frankly, I was scared I wasn't good enough or funny enough. I still feel that way. I recorded this footage and wrote a whole draft for this in September of 2020 when the game first dropped. I'm now finishing this draft more than a year and a half later. But someone close to me once said, I'll take a double triple bossy deluxe on a raft, 4x4 animal style, extra shingles with a shimmy and a squeeze, light axle grease, make it cry, burn it, let it swim, and make it come. I've had to start making videos again since I heard that. If you're on this side of the video, thank you. Try that thing you've always been meaning to. Take the steps to live up to being the person you know you can be. I'll be right here for you if you fail, psycho-adjacently rambling about whatever I feel like next week.